My partner hid a huge secret for years. Until I found out, I never thought I would be the kind of person to question the person I loved. For years, I believed that trust was the foundation of any relationship, and with David, I felt that trust ran deep. We met in the most unexpected way, at a small coffee shop where I spilled an entire latte on his shirt. He laughed instead of getting angry, and somehow, in that moment, I knew he was different. For the first few years, life with David felt perfect. We had our little apartment, our late-night takeout dinners, and our weekend movie marathons. He was thoughtful in ways that melted my heart, leaving notes on my mirror, cooking breakfast on Sundays, holding my hand whenever we walked anywhere. But as time passed, I began to notice things. Small things at first, the kind of details you brush off because you don't want to seem paranoid. He never talked much about his past. Whenever I asked about his childhood, he would give vague answers and then change the subject. There were no photos of his family, no old friends he introduced me to. His phone was always close to him, and although I trusted him, there was a guardedness about him that I couldn't quite name. I told myself that everyone has their own boundaries, and maybe his past just wasn't something he liked revisiting. But the cracks began to show in subtle ways. Sometimes he would leave at night without a clear explanation. Just going for a walk, he'd say, or need to clear my head. Once he disappeared for an entire weekend and came back with a flimsy excuse about visiting a friend from college. Something about the way he told the story didn't sit right with me, but I let it go. After all, we were happy, or so I thought. Then came the night that changed everything. It was late and I couldn't sleep. David had fallen asleep on the couch, his phone resting loosely in his hand. Normally, I never looked at his phone. I wasn't the snooping type. But that night, a notification lit up the screen. It was a message from someone named A. Just a single letter. The preview showed only a few words. "I miss you too. Can't wait to see you again." My stomach dropped. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. I tried to calm myself, telling myself it could be a friend, a cousin, anyone. But something in my gut screamed that this was different. I gently took the phone from his hand, afraid he might wake up. My hands were shaking as I unlocked it. He'd told me his passcode years ago, so I knew it. When I opened the conversation, my worst fears began to take shape. There were dozens of messages stretching back for years. This A wasn't just someone he'd met recently. They had a history. The messages were intimate, full of inside jokes, sweet words, and longing. My heart clenched when I read, "I wish I could just tell her everything, but you know why I can't. Tell me everything. What was there to tell?" I scrolled further back, reading fragments of their life together. They had shared places, moments, even secrets that I had never known about. And then the truth began to emerge, piece by piece. A wasn't another woman in the romantic sense. It was his sister. But not just any sister. She was in hiding. And so was he. I didn't understand at first. The messages hinted at danger, at people they were afraid of. Then I found a single photo in their chat. It was of the two of them, much younger, standing in front of a burned-down house. The caption read, "We made it out." That's all that matters. I felt like I'd stepped into someone else's life. My head was spinning. I kept reading, unable to stop myself until I pieced it together. Years ago, when David was a teenager, something terrible had happened. His family had been involved in a criminal investigation. His father had been linked to a dangerous crime syndicate. One night, their home was set on fire as a warning. His sister barely escaped. After that, they both went into hiding under new identities. David had built an entirely new life for himself, cutting ties with everyone from his past except her. That was why he never spoke about his childhood, why he was so guarded, why he sometimes disappeared. To meet her in secret, away from anyone who might recognize them. Part of me understood. He had been protecting her and maybe himself for years. But another part of me felt shattered. How could I have shared my life with someone who had hidden something this huge from me? The next morning, I confronted him. I didn't yell. I just held up his phone and asked, "Who is A?" The look on his face told me everything before he even spoke. His shoulders slumped, and he sank into a chair, running a hand through his hair. "You weren't supposed to find out like this," he said quietly. Then he told me everything: the fire, the threats, the years of living under different names, how he had been too afraid to tell me, not because he didn't trust me, but because he didn't want to put me in danger. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to walk away, to protect myself from whatever shadows followed him. But another part of me ached for the boy who had lost everything and still managed to love me as best as he could. We spent hours talking that day. For the first time, I saw all of him. Not just the man I fell in love with, but the survivor, the protector, the person who carried so much more than I had ever imagined. In the end, I stayed. Not because I forgave everything instantly, but because I wanted to see if we could rebuild our trust on a foundation of truth this time. It's been a year since that night. We're still together, still working through the shadows of his past. Some days, it's hard, but every time he reaches for my hand, I remind myself that love is rarely simple, and sometimes the greatest act of love is choosing to face the truth together.